right, we're going to be talking about poster guidelines and pointers for making posters. I brought the 2 posters that I created in my Einstein Fellowship because that was part of the thing that we had to do. At the end of the year, we had to do a presentation on Capitol Hill. That was my first year poster and my second year poster. That poster, actually, I give credit to that poster for allowing me to write this book, because the person from ASCD came up to me and said, engineering, I never see engineering teachers. And we got into this long conversation, and then she said, would you like to write a short format book? So I'm very thankful for having done that. And I'll tell you, if anybody wants to know about the Albert Einstein Distinguished Educator Fellowship, long name, right? I am more than happy to tell you about it, because you all are the type of teachers that should be applying for this program. It's an awesome opportunity to spend a year or 2 in Washington, D.C. working for one of the national agencies like NASA, NOAA, the NSF, organizations like that. And it's just, like I said, it's a tremendous opportunity. I was very blessed to get into it. Don't feel like I really deserved it, but I was very thankful to be there for 2 years. Okay, now to the presentation. I know probably a lot of you are thinking to yourself, well, why we have to make a poster, right? Okay. Well, to communicate, especially to your students. Putting the posters up in your classroom, the summer poster, to put that up at the beginning of the school year, and then as you finish the units, to put those up, is really important for your students to see them. Also, that it summarizes and synthesizes your CBL work. You know, a lot of times, you know, we try to get students to reflect on what they've done, and when we've done reflections ourselves, you realize more of what you've learned and what you've been able to do. So it's important to do it for that reason. It also starts a conversation. You know, people who come into your classroom will see it and they'll talk to you about it, including administrators. And then it also advertises this program and the benefits of CBL generally. And it also gives you the experience to participate in conferences in the future. And we're going to be talking about that. Really want to encourage you from this point on, don't look at the poster as just a requirement. It is an opportunity to learn how to do something that can really further your career. If you do posters and go to conferences and that, it can open up doors that you don't even realize may exist for you. And of course, because you gotta. That's the last reason, of course, right? All right, so this is the end of the summer poster template. Nice and open, you know, kind of a little intimidating, maybe because it's nice and open. Notice that that's a blank one, right? Okay, and then this is a sample one. This is one that Denny had put together to kind of give you an idea of the type of things that you need. Now, I'm going to pass out, or have somebody else pass out. And all of this is on, well, not all of this, but most of these documents are on the wiki. To pull out my, but I'm very old school on some things, and I like hard copies. If you put them in your binder, then you also know that, oh yeah, I have that available if you want to pull it up on the wiki too. And I just realized that there's also okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna hand you 2, right? Oh, is it? It's just.
No, there's one person on our way.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. What we've kind of gone to is having the components, the next screen here, of having the component sheet and then a checklist. And I think this is a very helpful format to go to because you have the more detail on this document, okay? And then when you're sitting down at the end of the year, at the end of making it, hey, I have a laser light, yeah. Okay, you can go and say to yourself, okay, did I do this? Did I do this? And it basically allows you to kind of check off mentally, did I do all of those things? But if you need the more detail of what that means, it's here. And Denny will use this, and also your resource coaches, will use this document to the checklist when you turn in these things so that they can go through and make comments and say, yes, okay, you did that. No, you need to go back and fix this. Okay. So these two documents will help you to realize what the expectations are before you even begin this process of the poster. Let's see here. All right, so let's look quickly at these. 1-inch margin around the poster, probably one of the most important things because it allows us to be able to print it well. Fonts have to be at least 24 point. You want to guess why? You can't read it. Posters have to be made to be able to be seen. If I stand about 10 feet away from there, I should be able to, read that. Because sometimes there's people standing and talking to the person. Somebody can look over their shoulder and see something. And if they see something that piques their curiosity, then they can hang around longer and talk to you. If they look at it all and say, okay, nothing necessarily I want to ask this person, they can go on to the next person. How many of you have been to conferences? I guess most of you came to the STEM conference last year, right? Okay, so you've experienced how poster presentations work. And by the way, one thing that I do want to also stress, and I didn't put this in my presentation, but have what is kind of referred to as an elevator pitch prepared, which is anywhere from 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes of this is what I'm doing for the year. So that when people walk up, you're not like rambling and trying to figure out how to explain what you're doing and get sidetracked, that you can give them that little bit of information so that then they can decide if they have more questions to ask you or there again if they need to move on to somebody else. All right. Consistency of font styles is important, and we're going to talk about that in the presentation. There's a difference between being boring and being consistent, because consistency keeps you from having all these kind of crazy fonts. If you look at like magazines and newspapers, you will notice that they don't have like 5 different fonts on a layout. I was a yearbook advisor for 11 years, and that's one of the key things I always tell you, is you pick certain font styles to use on a page, and then you use those throughout the book. You don't jump around and use a bunch of different things because it doesn't look professional. That's the key thing. It doesn't look professional, and it's harder to read. Colors, good contrast between background colors and the text. And I'm trying to think if there's... Okay, I didn't have this on my poster. I thought I did on something, but there's tricks to fixing that, and I'll talk a little bit about that also. Okay, and I'm not going to, you can read all these things. Word content, edit ruthlessly. It's really important. Keep chopping down what you have because someone doesn't want to read your life story on a poster. Plus, you don't have the space given the size of the font. Doing things like using bullets, using phrases, don't go for whole sentences. It usually doesn't work. Also, omit phrases like I feel and I think, especially on the reflection. I think the lesson went really well. Just say the lesson went really well. It actually gives more punch to what you have to say if you take those kinds of phrases out. Make sure that your photos are high resolution, at least 300 dpi. I've been told by printers that 300 dpi is enough because that's what printers, the best printers print at. So you really, beyond that, you're kind of, just being nice to the printer, I guess. I don't know. But it has to be at least 300 dpi. Avoid using, well, actually, I'm sorry. For the summer poster, you will use clip arts and canned photos appropriately, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Breathing room is another issue. You don't want things so totally cram-packed that your poster looks real busy and you don't have some kind of gaps and such, but you don't want to have huge gaps of white space or empty space either. So it's kind of a balance there. And there again, look at magazines and kind of get a feel on how they do that type of thing. All right, the unit information, that should be pretty obvious as to what those things are. Notice it says include some of the following. The summer poster is a little bit more open. Once you have the big idea, the challenge, and essential questions, you want to include things so that people know what you're going to be teaching, but it's not as prescriptive as the unit posters are. One key thing is to remember that the audience is your students. So you want to make it look, exciting and fun and that type of thing for them, so that when you hang that up into your classroom, that they will get excited about doing the things. Obviously, the audience is also the people who come to the showcase at the end of the summer. So you need to keep that in mind also. Need to have the title and requirements. And I pulled, Kevin's not in here, okay. Kevin was one of my students last year, actually, our teachers last year, and he is this year also. So I actually had his poster, that's why I pulled his to put up here. And notice, he's got some little picture graphic kind of things on there to make it a little bit more fun looking. One of the things that I liked a lot about his was he found some really nice, appropriate photos to tie into his big ideas on that. And the other thing I liked was, I've seen some people who will use, maybe here when he's doing surveying, they would have 3 or 4 different pictures of surveying. And the pictures get small, and then there's not as much impact. So as with the words, sometimes less is more. So pick a really good picture and use that, maybe 2. But beyond that, I wouldn't go for much more than that. All right, here's the unit poster. And let's compare the two. So we need oh, he just came in. You missed it.
Hey, ma'am, could you go back to your poster just for a second? I want to make a point here. That red dashed line is the 1-inch margin. When you get done with your poster, delete that.
Yeah, we don't want that on the... And your other person here. Okay.
Let us do that for you.
Okay.
I can do both.
Okay. They didn't get the checklist.
I don't know what did you not get the second one?
They didn't get the checklist. First ones.
Here's the checklist as well.
All right.
You just want to take one of
If you look over this,
okay.
let me warn you, this is a template, not as in you have to fill in this template and use this design. Okay. This can be modified. Because in all honesty, if you think about going to a poster presentation, do you want to walk through and see every single poster look exactly the same? No. Okay, make it your own, but make sure that you have those requirements in there. One thing that I found out from my own teachers that I worked with was the activity implementation and the engineering design process. Sometimes you can tie those together and make them one heading. And in fact, I think it actually works out better if you do it that way. Also be aware of things, and because as I looked at back at some of the posters that other teachers did, it says, show pictures of student work. I hardly see anybody do that. And on most of the posters also, it talks about the engineering design process. I have people doing ACS, but hardly talking about EDP at all. So make sure that all of those things are being touched on in your poster. All right, now let's compare the two. So put your summer poster next to your unit poster and start going down. And you'll notice that there's a lot of similarities because some things are just good posters. Tell me when you find something that's different. Pictures. What's different on the pictures?
Capture faces and action photos should tell the story.
Okay. Why wouldn't you do that? That's on the unit poster, right? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you do that on the summer poster?
I don't have my kids to.
You don't have your kids' pictures yet. Okay. What else is different?
Summer poster has essential questions on it also.
Pardon?
Summer poster has essential questions on it also.
Unit poster did it?
No, it didn't. It does.
Okay, I was going to say, it should. It may be in a different bullet point,
Okay, you did, okay.
and that's only because of the layout of the poster. I shifted a couple things to have them match the layout, but that's a good point. By the way, anything else on pictures? Anything about like clip art and stock photo type things? I did put. And then on the other one it says use appropriately. Why would you use them appropriately on the summer poster and sparingly on the, yes? Say it again. Okay, that's true, part of it.
Again, you don't have, like you said, again, we don't have any other pictures to go from.
Right, you don't have any pictures of your kids. And, you know, if you have a choice of using a piece of clip art or a stock photo or a picture of your kids, which one should you use? Picture of your kids, okay. So, you know, you may, for ACS, you may need to put something in, you know, like a picture of a surveyor or something like that. But generally speaking, you want pictures of your students doing the things as much as possible. Okay, anything else? Of course there is. Oh, I don't have the other.
Well, the units, you're showing how it was implemented, and you can't do that from the summer post.
All right. Okay, and I'm gonna stop there because basically that we're getting into the thing that with the pictures and with the unit itself, the descriptions and such, and how it was implemented, that's the difference. I mean, if you look at all of them make sense. Why can't I do this on my summer poster? Because I haven't done the unit yet. After I've done the unit, that information needs to be there. How did it come out in the classroom? What did I think of it? My reflection? All of those things have to be on the unit poster because I've already implemented it. So it needs to be there. So that's the major difference between the two. So I just wanted to point that out because I didn't want you to think like there's a whole different batch of requirements. It's just pre and post basically. You know, what you're going to do ahead of time and what you can do when everything is finished. And obviously the summer, because of that, is an overview. You can talk about all three because you don't need to go into great detail since they haven't been implemented yet. All right, now, if you're walking through a poster presentation, what's going to make you stop and read a poster? And by the way, that's why I did an engineering notebook. That was one of the reasons why I saw, my first year I did this because this was kind of what they told us, 3-column scientific poster. I did a little bit of fancy things on the gradation and all that kind of stuff. But I saw a couple fellows that did different things with their backgrounds and I thought, oh, okay. And people walked toward them more often. I thought the second year I'm going to do something a little different, so I used an engineering notebook. Now I'll tell you, one of the problems with that was that's a very large picture. It is a big file to have that as my background. And then I did all the text on top of it. That's actually a font on top of that I did. And then my sponsor signed as my witness on the engineering notebook and dated it and that type of thing. That's the engineering notebook that my high school used, by the way. And so, you know, when you're doing backgrounds get to be a little weird on the size, and we'll talk about how you can make sure that your graphics look okay when you're doing something like that. But one of the cool things about the fellowship that I did was get to go to a lot of conferences. And one of them that I got to go to was in Birmingham, England. First time I've been overseas was to be able to go to Birmingham, England. I loved it. It was great. It's called HEA STEM Conference is what I went to. A lot of scientific posters, a lot of things that were well beyond my pay grade, level of education, whatever, that they were talking about. But I walked through and I looked at the posters and I took pictures of them because I found them interesting. They don't do this very much, the 3-column type thing. They go at a different way. So you tell me, which one of these would you want to stop and read? And which one would you just keep on going? Okay, the fourth one or which one? The second one, okay. And we're going to talk about why on each one. So, stop or keep walking? Okay, why? Okay, it's too small. And obviously, I mean, you know, if you look at the amount of text, even the fact that it's on a screen and the resolution may not be all that great and all that, but look at the size of the text on that poster versus mine. You can tell. I mean, you'd have to stand really, really close to read it, and then read that, digest it, and then be able to ask the person a question. I don't have time for that. And there were a lot of posters there. I do like the little cloud bubbles in the corner there. The graphs are nice, but way too much text otherwise. Okay? Stop or keep walking. Okay, I'm hearing a mixed review. What are some of the good things about this one? And I hate to make you raise your hand, but I can't pick things.
It's not crowded, there's like a little bit more open.
Okay.
Just words.
And that's the breathing space or the white space area issue. By putting it in boxes like that, it automatically made it have some of that space so that not everything's so crammed together. Someone else have a, yes?
I like the graphic on the left, and then I can't read it well, but it looks like that there's more explanation on the right. I'm not sure if that's how they actually have it set up, but it makes me look at it generally.
Okay, so they have a graphic, says grade mark phase 1, grade mark, and then some information on it. So if you just want to look at the graphics, you might get enough information there, the way it's laid out. Yes?
The fact that it has fail stamped on it really gets my attention. It makes me wonder what went wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good point. So sometimes that, emphasis issue, we're going to talk about principles and elements of design. Emphasis sometimes can draw you into something. All right, next one. Stop or keep walking?
Keep walking.
Why? Where do you go? Where does your eye go first? It doesn't. Somebody said it doesn't. It kind of goes maybe to the boxes, maybe to the loop there, but it kind of doesn't. There should be a flow as to what you look at. And I think that's part of the reason why we've settled in this country on the 3-column, because it's pretty obvious which way you go when you're looking at it. But you don't have to be married to that. I think it's obvious on that poster which way you go. And if you do the boxes like the last one, it's pretty obvious which way you go when you're looking at it. All right, stop or keep walking? Stop. Why? It short and sweet, attractive, I heard somebody say. Okay, nice use of colors. Got things like YouTube and Twitter on there and stuff that kind of piques your interest a little bit. There's, again, the emphasis. And it has a little bit of an explanation up there that looks like it's probably maybe not 24 point, but it's not too hard to read. If I'm standing and looking over someone's shoulder, I could probably read the background and decide whether or not I wanted to stay or go on. All right, now beyond poster requirements that we looked at and the sheets that you have, one of the things I want to talk about today are principles and elements of design. And I'm giving Julie a workout here. This is the last one, I think, Julie. And this concept comes from my years of doing yearbook and doing layouts. And just like engineering design process, if you Google principles and elements of design, you'll wind up with a bunch of different lists. I liked this because it was very concise explanation. Yes.
Back many years ago, I was doing presentations, technical presentations, and this goes back to the 70s. Posters were rare. It was all, platform presentations.
Right.
Posters started coming in, and one of the things that they were intended to do, which I think people forget, was they're meant to stimulate conversations.
Right.
So typically what you do is stand in front of your poster, and if it's inviting, then you want to have that conversation. Now they've kind of gone to, I think, a good place where there's kind of a sweet spot where you want enough information where you can take that and have it stand alone, but not so much that the examples that were great that Pam just showed. I mean, there was some really bad-looking stuff there where, you're better off just saying, okay, here's a research paper that went with it.
Right.
This is not intended to be a research paper. So there's enough information there to engage, enough to want more, but not something where you've got the entire paper on.
Right. Good point. And also, let me make a comment about conferences now because it's coming to my mind. something I did want to say at some point. Beware at the conference itself, the STEM conference, because, and it's not just, every conference I've been to, I've seen this happen, where I'm presenting and you're presenting, and we're standing next to each other, and maybe there's not a big flow of people at a certain point, and so we start chatting. And then people walk up, and we don't stop. Okay, really important that when people are there, that you're paying attention to them, because that's the reason why you're there. If there's no one in the area, it doesn't hurt to say something to the person next to you. But I've seen long involved conversations, and it's like I'm standing there looking at it and thinking, I want to ask a question on this, but I hate to interrupt their conversation. So make sure that you're cognizant of who's around and answering the questions that they have. Dr. Kurkredi.
I think one thing that you should, particularly for the summer poster, which is unusual, because you are presenting your 3 units, and whereas the unit poster is on one of the units, so you have 3 posters for 3 units like that. I think that one of the important things that you must realize, the title of the poster should be the theme of the poster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and anything that you put, a single line or any word should be connected to that theme. If it does not belong to that theme, you should not put it. Though you may have a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
In your unit, you may have many, many more information.
Right.
But for the poster, you're only presenting something, and that should always come from the title.
Okay.
Okay? So be very careful what title you pick for the summer poster, because I think to make it attractive, what are your units following some general theme or something
Right.
like, or are you accomplishing certain learning goal for your students? You could choose, because you have a complete choice
Good
there
point.
to make it very good, but put everything connected with which goes with the theme of the title. It's like your title of a storybook.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would want to say is, particularly for the summer poster, you have to be a little careful what you reveal to your students. A reason being, the very essence of CBL is
That's right.
for the students to be the active participants in identifying what they need to learn. The students should be the people who identify the challenge. Okay? And you're a nurturer to sort of steer them to the challenge that you would like them to do, which fits very well to the content that you want to deliver. But your poster should not be so prescriptive that you give the message,
point.
this is what we will do, nothing else.
Right.
So you have to be very careful with the summer posters. All these definition of the challenge and all that you put. It should not give the impression to otherwise the purpose of CBL is defeated.
Right.
It becomes project-based learning.
Mm-hmm.
In project-based learning, the project is defined by the teacher, and then otherwise pretty much everything else is similar.
Mm-hmm.
But in CBL, so this is one thing that you have to be a little careful about, that it should not give an impression to your students with summer poster that this is the challenge has already been picked and decided, and that is what we are doing. It should be used as a very good vehicle to introduce your big idea. Okay, with the students should come prepared with to discuss the essential questions and then pick a challenge. That's a fantastic vehicle to use so that the students start talking in advance about the big idea. So a little bit be careful about the summer poster that you will put in your class, which you, to what extent, do not violate blatantly the essence of CBL.
All right. Very good. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I actually have 2 about the design. One is, like our titles, sometimes we like them to be kind of fun for the kids. Do you suggest our posters have a more formal title? Or can we use the title like if you're doing earthquakes, you called Shake It Up?
Yes.
Is that okay that that's the title on our poster?
Yeah, you should be, it
Yeah.
should be very catchy. It should be the hope.
Okay. And then The other question I had is that these unit posters then don't really have to be completed for us to turn in until towards the end of the year?
Until after you complete the unit, obviously.
Right, okay,
Right.
yeah, that's obvious, but
Yeah.
I get that, I didn't even think that way. But what if, as we were working on the unit, we had this as an interactive poster we're making with the kids? And that way, rather than putting it up at the beginning, we put up the essential question after they develop, their questions after we develop it, and we say, you're gonna help me make it
That's a neat
as we
idea.
go.
I like that.
That's a great idea.
And you know what's really, what you could do too is if you have like Blackboard or Moodle,
Right,
you could have just, have the PowerPoint slide on
exactly.
the website so that they can refer to it, but you're not actually printing anything at that point.
Exactly.
So it's a live document.
Exactly.
That's a great idea because that will also help you move to getting it created, which for some people seems to be a problem. I don't know why, but it just,
And the kids can submit their picture
Right.
ideas and the balloons to go around things.
mhm.
Like your students do the work. There you go.
But then when you print it professionally, you bring it in and you say, I'm bringing this to my workshop
Mhm.
or my conference, and you take a picture of people standing around the desk.
Right.
I think I would like to try to do that.
And that helps the kids to realize, because sometimes as a resource team member, I come in the classroom and I'll videotape and I'll take pictures and things like that. And some of the kids do this number, they don't understand. I don't, it's no offense, but I don't care about you. I care about what you're doing. So, it's not that I'm trying to, do anything with your face on wherever. They need to realize that this is something very positive. It's going to the university and all those types of things. And it's something that's beneficial to everybody. So that's a great idea. I like that. All right, now, on the principles and elements of design, which I gave you all the... Yes, I need to have one to refer to. Thank you. And yeah, okay. You will notice that I didn't list all of them up there. And the reason why is because I didn't want to talk about all of them, for one thing. And some of them are not as appropriate for a poster as they might be for something else. Because this gets into things like doing artwork generally, layouts generally, all those types of things. So we're going to discuss in just a minute all of these. And one of the key things about these is these can take your poster and make it sparkle. And it can actually turn it from being just ho-hum to awesome. Okay, that's our goal, is to try to make these posters not be something that, okay, I got to do a poster. Let me just plug the stuff into the spaces and then send it off to Julie or Denny and make sure it's okay, or whatever. This should be a fun part of doing this project. And I think that I like your idea of making it something that's a living document until it's turned in, as the students have that participation, and because that will help with that. All right, now, in order to do this, we're going to... Oh no, you see Oz now. We're going to go online, onto the wiki. You are. And we're going to play Let's Fix the Poster. And what I've tried to do is not only pull in the principles and elements of design, but also things that I've noticed that teachers either don't know about with PowerPoint. Some of you may, some of you may not. Obviously, how many of you consider yourself a PowerPoint novice? Okay, a few of you. How many of you consider yourself a PowerPoint expert? Okay, so most of you lie in between, okay? And I think that's probably general feeling amongst teachers because, yeah, I've used it for a while. But, it's almost like down and dirty PowerPoint. I know how to get in and do what I need to do, and that's what I need to do. When it comes to doing certain other things, you might be able to manage. But I found out with sitting down with some teachers with doing their posters, and I would show them a couple things, it was like, you mean I could do it that way? That's so much easier. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So if those of you that consider yourself experts, excuse me, or if you do know these features, excuse me, but it's a review. But hopefully you'll find at least a couple tricks that you didn't know about before. All right, so did everybody go on the wiki? Download the Let's Play Fix the Poster? I think you have to download it because otherwise you're not going to be able to fix the posters. Now, pardon? I'm sorry, it's under workshops. Thank you.
Yeah, if you look on the left-hand side, under workshops, go there, it should be the first one, because I just uploaded it at 9 o'clock this morning. So, it should be the first one you come to.
We won't talk about doing things at the last minute, will we?
Yes,
No, that's me, not her. All right, now I would encourage you, feel free to sit with someone if you'd rather move next to somebody, especially if you feel more of a novice kind of end of the spectrum and maybe want to do the things together. Or if you want to do it by yourself, that's fine too. It's up to you. Okay. All right. Who can tell me what the problem is with this poster? And obviously I've made some of them a little more obvious than others. Different fonts. Okay. Now, this one I made obvious, but I swear you would not believe how many I look at that the fonts are different and it's not incredibly obvious. It may be that you have it one in bold, or it may be that you have, I don't know, I can't even think of two different fonts that are similar, but let's say Garmin Fine and Garmin or something like that, so that it doesn't scream out we're different. What you need to do is to click on the fonts and double check and make sure, yes, this is the same font, yes, this is the same font. Or you can do what we're going to show you right now. Does anybody know how you can fix that the easiest way? Themes, but I'll be honest with you, when I'm doing something like a poster, it's only one page, so I don't bother with doing themes because it gets a little weird.
Control-A to highlight everything and change it.
Okay, that's a possibility. There's an easier way, I think. And obviously everybody has their own way of doing things. Do y'all know about Format Painter? Okay. All right, Format Painter, and then this is where I have to get out. This is the one problem with this presentation. It's like I have to get in and get out. Here. Okay. Format Painter is right there. See that little paintbrush? Why it doesn't say Format Painter next to it anymore, I don't know. All right, what you need to do is come down and pick whichever one of these fonts you want to use. Which one do you think would be the best one? What title looks the best? Okay, Unit Activity Implementation. You don't like the student work and the reflection and conclusion? Okay, avoid novelty fonts, folks. It's really a big deal because, well, why? They're hard to read. I mean, you might want to, when they had the word fail or something, you might want to use a novelty font in a place like one word kind of emphasis type thing. But generally speaking, they're just too hard to read. Okay, so what you need to do is to move your cursor onto Unit Activity Implementation, there. Okay. Come on. And click somewhere in there. Okay? By the way, has anybody used Format Painter before? Oh, good, I'm showing you something you don't know. All right, so I click in there, and then I come up to the paintbrush, and this is important, double click on it. Because what that does is it locks it into that style. And what I really like about this is that if the thing is Calibri, bold, italics, whatever. I mean, if you have more than one thing on that font, it'll take care of all of the things. You don't have to keep doing everything to the same font. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to come over to here to Big Idea Challenge, and I am going to, whoops, I hate not having a mouse. I'm going to paint it. No, I'm not, okay? I'm going to click on it. You can do it that way. I'm not doing it. Okay, unfortunately I picked it up from the one and not the other. My bad. Okay, you all can probably do it easier than I can. I'm having problems up here because I don't have a mouse. I don't think I can use the mouse and the clicker at the same time.
Oh, you can't.
I don't think so. You think I can?
Because you have to click.
I have the clicker to advance this. Really? I've never used both. Okay, is it working for you? Okay.
I just triple clicked on each of those five.
Right, okay. You can either, if you click on the word, or if you can actually click and drag, paint it, and it'll change to that font. So that way you can make sure, you want to do it? Thank you.
We'll try it.
It's your laptop, so.
If it doesn't work, we'll get rid
Is there anybody that wasn't able to do it?
Can you do it again, because I didn't have mine pulled.
Okay, put your cursor, click in the middle of any one of those words,
Okay.
and then come up to the paintbrush and double click on the paintbrush. Then come down and click on any one of these titles, any of the words in the title. And if you can either double click and it'll change that word, triple click will change the phrase, the title, or you can click and drag. The problem was I was trying to click and drag and then it moves the box and all that kind of stuff. But there's a way of fixing that too. Okay? And so when you're at a certain point in your poster, if you click and double check your font size and the font style and everything, you say, rats, that one's different for some reason. You can just do this instead of highlighting and changing. And in some ways you might think, well, it's really no different. To me, I like it because it ensures you're getting all the characteristics of the one font into the other one. So if it happened to be bold or something else that you may not realize, or you don't accidentally pick the wrong Lucida. There's some of those have like 5 or 6 different kind of styles that are similar to one another. So you get exactly the same thing for every one. All right, so if nothing else, you all learned at least one thing today. That's good. All right, so now back to the presentation. Okay. Next slide. Okay, I heard blurry pictures. What causes blurry picture? Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, I didn't bring out on the last one. What principle and element is that dealing with? Principle and or element? Unity and variety. There's some room for variety. You want the body copy font to be different than the titles. So there has to be some variety there, but you want unity. The same kinds of things should have the same kind of font. So that's the reason why I brought that up. All right, on this one. Okay. All right, we've got a blurry picture down here. And what causes that? Okay, taking a picture that has a low resolution and making it big. All right. And like I said, we'll talk in a minute on how you fix that. All right, anything else?
For the kids, that's what you want to have, and it's really small.
Okay, so what principle and element of design do you think that feeds into?
It's the focal point, because that's what you're hearing it as for kids.
Okay, focal point.
Also scale and proportion.
Okay.
It's so small.
All right, very good. Both of those things, focal point, scale, and proportion. What do your eyes go to immediately?
Yellow car.
The yellow car, okay? Now, if that's what you're trying to emphasize, that's great, but you're probably not. You probably should be wanting to emphasize, I'm assuming this is a picture of your kids. It's a stock picture, but let's face it, it's supposed to be a picture of your kids. That should be your focal point. That should be the larger picture. Okay, not the car. And I should make this smaller and then make this even smaller, maybe move them next to each other because this looks like a sketch of a car that are kind of related to one another. Yes?
One other thing I've learned in doing scrapbooking that we were taught is you want to draw your eyes to the center. So like you may have that picture of the kids is great because they're facing towards the center of your poster. But if it's a picture they're facing the other way, flip it around so it doesn't lead you off of the page.
That's funny that you bring that up. That's one of those things that I debated on bringing up because with yearbook it's the same thing.
Yeah, you want to pull to the center of your poster.
Okay, and so this is getting up into the really sparkly kind of things as far as I'm concerned. When you really make it awesome, is that when you're looking at your poster, if these students here are looking that way, if you have a picture of a kid like really intently listening to you or something, looking off the poster, your eyes will go off the poster. It won't lead down to the natural flow of the page. So it's now flipping it has its, you gotta be careful.
Well, I mean, clip art you can flip.
Right, clip art you can flip, right. Right, something like the car over here, you could easily flip that. And notice I have the car facing toward the center of the page. This car is facing that way. So unless this were a student sketch, I'd want to flip it over. so that it's facing in. Okay, do y'all understand what? If you don't, it's okay. This is like really getting into design type things. But yeah, I had that issue all the time. I tried to tell kids when I sent them out to take pictures, if we had a spot to fill on the yearbook page, take kids looking that direction, because it makes it a lot easier to do that. All right, now pictures. Basically, you know, the thing as far as fixing anything, there's not a lot to fix on this, except you would want to make that smaller. One of the things that, you know, I brought this up to show you. Are you all familiar with all of the cool things as far as under insert, you have the different shapes. So if you want to do the engineering design process, you can do arrows, connecting bubbles or whatever, and there's also Smart Art, which actually has these kind of layouts, and we're going to look at this in just a minute anyway. Let's see, where is it? Circle, cycle, okay? Those can be modified to be used as the engineering design process. Okay, so you have those types of things at your disposal. And then, of course, charts. Now, you can pull in an Excel chart too, but if you want to use something that's in PowerPoint already, it's there. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up. That's the reason why I had that particular graphic there. And for your summer poster, those are the kind of graphics that might be a good idea for you to want to use, since you're not using pictures of your kids. All right, this is one of the hints and I've thrown a couple of these in here. Make sure that you take a lot of photos and videos. I had more than one teacher say to me, man, I forgot all about having somebody take a picture and you weren't here that day, and you know, it was like a really neat activity and we didn't have anything. Try to get, I mean, if you don't have like old cameras laying around, you know, like an older digital camera that still has a decent enough resolution. I mean, a lot of the older ones that weren't that expensive have decent resolution. You know, put your name on it with a label maker or something, and have those so that when, you know, you begin an activity, you say, here, 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 and tell the kids, take the pictures. Now, they may take, you know, out of 50 pictures, you know, 45 of them may be crummy, but those last 5 might be awesome. And especially you're getting the kids' perspective. And if you don't have ones of your own, ask other staff members. Hey, anybody got an old camera lying around that they don't use anymore? I know because of my phone. I used to have a lot of smaller cameras that I carried with me because I was yearbook advisor. But because of my phone, I don't need that anymore. They're not nearly as good as what I can get with my iPhone. So, you know, ask around, see if people have them. A lot of times they're glad to get rid of them because they hate the fact that they're sitting around not being used. And like I said, have the students give the perspective from their own point of view that way. Okay.
Since you're talking about really still photos here.
Oh, and videos.
What's the purpose of the videos?
Okay. The video, thank you for asking me that. By the way, that's a flip cam. Anybody have a flip cam at home? Those were really popular for a while, and there again, because of phones, most people don't use them anymore. But there again, somebody might have one around, and they're very easy to use. What's the purpose of the video? Why would you want video taken of an activity? We're talking about posters. Why am I bringing up videos? You got to make a video too. And you know, we can do the video with stills flying in and all that, you know, stuff, but it's so much better to see a kid go, wow, you know, to something that just happened. You know, that having that little clip is just so important. So there again, and getting it from the kid's perspective, I think, because they'll do stuff like, they'll get down on the floor, you know, they'll do all sorts of stuff that you might not do and the resource team members might not do. So they'll go at it when, you know, if they're doing cars on the floor, they'll go down on the floor and videotape things, or take pictures. So thank you, Jack. I'm glad you brought that up.
Can I just say one
Yes.
thing real quick? We do have a contractor associated with the project that can come out to your school and take pictures too if you know this is going to be a particularly good day. You would just need to email me and let me know, and you know, in advance is always helpful, because if you say, well, it's going to be tomorrow, and you tell me at 10 o'clock at night, I probably can't find somebody
Right.
short of a time frame. But you know, we do have some availability, and the fellows can borrow video cameras. You know, if you have a fellow assigned to you, they can check out. We have a couple video cameras they can check out too.
Okay. All right, let me go back to this one a second. I didn't have you fix it. how could I make this smaller and that bigger? Well, the typical way is you click on it and you do what? You drag the corner. What happens sometimes when you drag the corner? Okay, the resolution can be an issue, but what else can happen? What I have happen a lot of times is, oh, come on now, it's not going to cooperate with me. Let me move it up here. People accidentally drag the wrong handle, and we get people either tall and skinny or short and fat. Okay, it distorts it. Right. The way I like to do it, and by the way, shortcut, anybody know how to undo real fast? Control Z. That is an undo step. The best way to do this, to change a picture size to me, is to double click on the picture and then notice that we come up into picture tools and format. I can change the size here. Then I'm not dragging anything and accidentally dragging something I didn't mean to. And that locks the proportion. Now you can actually go in here and make it so that it doesn't lock the proportion, but I don't know of very many situations where you are going to want to do that. Okay? So that's a way you can make the picture bigger. And then obviously make it smaller too would be the same issue. So that was one of the things that I showed a teacher, and they were like, because they wanted something to be an exact size, like the width of the column. And so getting things nice and lined up, that helps a lot.
It's an excellent way to make things the same size, too.
Right. Very good. Yeah. Because that's actually, I'm bringing that up in another issue here. Oh, here we go. That was the next one. What's the problem? Now, I usually don't see it this obvious, but I see it. Okay, things aren't aligned and they're not the same size. All right, so I just showed you how to change the size. Pick a box that you think is going to be the best size. Click on it. Which one do you think is going to be the best size? Well, obviously this one almost fills up, the text almost fills up the box, right? So maybe that's what I need to go for. So if I double click on it, well, it didn't actually go to format. Sometimes you have to actually come up here and click format. All right, it is 3.17 inches wide and 0.31 inches tall. You can change that, make it whatever, I mean, I would probably make it 0.3 and 0.32 to make it a little bit easier. And then come over here and click this one, 0.3, 0.32, and then do that to all of them. Now, notice what's happening though. We've got overlapping issues, so you may have to adjust the size down because of that. The center column could wind up being wider if you need to make it wider. Will that matter if it's a little wider in the center than the other two sides? Do you think people will notice that? Well, if it's a little bit, it's probably not going to make a difference. And actually, I probably could make it smaller now that I look at unit activity implementation. I've got a little bit more breathing room there. I could make it smaller. All right, now somebody said something about the alignment. How do you align things? And by the way, this is one of the teachers last year told me that what she did was to make sure her boxes were the same, where she drug one over and put it on top of the other one. Is that what you would do? A lot of people would do that. Okay? Okay, you all knew about the sizing thing? Okay. All right, what about alignment? How can I get that top lined up? Anyone? Okay, if I click on that box and then hold down Control, click, and I click the wrong one. There we go. Okay, I've got those three selected now. And I'm going to find out where it is. Okay, because your screen's smaller, mine has all the words out. So next, to bring it forward, you may have it may say align there on yours, does it? Okay. All right, so if you click align, you can pick align left, center, right, top, middle, bottom, distribute horizontally. Which one do you think you want to pick? What's the problem with align top? Okay, so if I click align top, ta-da, they're all lined up. Yes?
You said hold it and click control and...
If you hold down the control key and then click each one of the three boxes, then it should highlight all three.
It's taking mine.
Yeah, mine too.
Control, click here.
Mm-hmm.
See, I know it's gonna do that.
I was going to say, you know what, I always told my students I'm magic, you know. It always behaves when I get near. I know where its CPU chip is. That was my other line. So it knows I can hurt it, so that's why it behaves when I get near it. Okay, so that's how you align the top. And then you could align the sides when you want to get the, because once they're all the same size, I can align this one, control this one, and I could either do align center, right, or left. It wouldn't matter if the boxes are the same size, right? Okay, so let's just say center here. But I would want these two to be, I would want them to be the same size. And that gets back to the unity kind of idea. Yes?
Once you get them all highlighted, how do you align them? What do you do?
I'm the novice.
Oh, that's fine. No, I have no problems with that. That's otherwise. Format,
Oh, format, okay.
and then align.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, did everybody get that? All right, so, I mean, you know, we're not worried about making this one look okay. I just want to make sure you have the skill to be able to do that. So we've practiced it at least a little bit. Okay.
Pam, one of the things, I don't know if the folks that haven't done this before noticed it, but as soon as you click off of any object, the format tab disappears. So you have to select the object in order for that format tab.
Good point. Yeah, there are some tabs that will only appear when you're doing that particular action. So if you're sitting there saying, I want to line these up, where's that stupid format tab? Well, it's not going to show up until you actually click on the things that you want to change the format on. Okay? All right, and part of the issue too with these is the idea of line and shape as far as the principles and elements. All right, let's look at the next one. And I apologize, I'm kind of speeding through these a little bit faster than I wanted to. Oh, speeding through. Let's pick speeding through here. All right, what jumps out at you? Okay. Are you going to be able to read the words on there? No. Okay. This gets into the idea of value and color. Okay. Bright things come to the forefront, and we want it to recede to the back. All right, and we also just the fact that it's impractical because I can't read the words that are on top of it. So what you can do is, if you click on the track picture, now there's a couple ways of dealing with this. You can change, let's see, come up to format again. I'm surprised it didn't pop up. A lot of times it'll come straight up to format. Corrections, colors, and artistic effects are the things that I would use. Sometimes when you click on corrections, sometimes one of them looks good because if you change the contrast, it kind of fades. All of those are still too obnoxious to me. Okay, so I wouldn't use any of those. All right, so not corrections. How about color? Any of those look like they might work? Okay, washout. Okay, this under recolor, that gray one in the bottom corner, that one, or maybe that one. Okay, washout. Washout, you still have the color there, and that still, I don't know, that's still awfully bright to me. I actually like the black and white one because the black and white one still is obviously a racetrack. You can still tell it's a racetrack, can't you? Okay, so I think that that takes it to the point where the text and the photos that you're going to put on top of it are going to mean more, and it's just kind of there. Okay, so those three things, the correction, color, and artistic effect, those will allow you to do things to pictures when you want to maybe put something in the background. Now, let me warn you, do this sparingly and with caution, because I have seen some really good posters destroyed because somebody wants to have something in the background. A lot of times it doesn't work, but there's some times where it does work. So you just have to be very, very cautious as to doing this. Okay? And that gets into value and color, as I said, on that one. Okay? All right. Oh, the other thing is that you can do, by the way, to help your text on top of it is, let's say this right here is a little hard to read, and mind you, it's not too bad. And I need to zoom in here a little bit. And Jack, am I going to cause you problems? Am I going to cause you problems? Time? Okay. All right, guiding questions. I think that's kind of a little hard to read because of the gray behind it. Some of the things that you can do, probably the easiest thing you can do is to come up to the fonts and see this one that says shadow. And then I would go ahead and I would copy that to all of them. So shadows is one thing you can do to it. The other thing you can do to it is, you just have to play around with it to see what works. Coming over to format again, sometimes you can, where is it? Oh, I hate these shortcut here. All right, the text outline, sometimes you can outline it in, let's say, well, this is actually kind of different here, so this one, well, that makes it almost bold. Let's go for a teal here. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, but you can play around with that, sometimes outlining it with a different color. Now, if it were a really dark background, outlining it white may work. Or I could do this, I could outline it in black and make the font color white. Nah. Okay, that's obnoxious. Okay.
When it's on bold, it smushes it.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying is there are things you can do and you can play around with and see if it looks better. So just to let you know that there are different things you can do to fonts. Yes?
One thing I would recommend that you do before you send me your poster is make sure you look at it like you have it in 100%.
I've got even a better suggestion.
Okay, that's good. I'll let you go ahead then.
Even though it's actually kill some trees, but we'll get there in just a second. Okay. All right, let's go back to this one. All right. Any problem with this one? Oops, I just realized that you can see something that you shouldn't be able to see. Okay. Can't see what?
Beneath the title.
Okay. All right, there's too much going on, and that was my caution before on, dealing with backgrounds. Textures and patterns sometimes can conflict with one another. It's like wearing plaids and polka dots and stripes together. Each one separately may be beautiful, but once you start putting the stuff together, it looks atrocious. So just beware of things like word art and effects. Use them sparingly. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. All right, let's go down to the next one. I would have you change that, but I think you could figure out how to do that pretty easily. All right, so if you're worried that your resolution isn't good enough, that was the issue that you were just bringing up here. Okay? And notice that, by the way, this was another thing. As far as color is concerned, sometimes you might want to tie your colors into your pictures. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Format or tiling allows you to print out your poster on multiple sheets of paper that are pieced together like a puzzle. I did that with that one. And boy, am I glad I did. Because when I did, the engineering notebook was fuzzy. the first time I did it. So I realized I took the picture over and over and over again of the engineering notebook to get it. And I had to go to a raw setting, if anybody knows that in cameras. I had to go to a raw setting to get it to be a decent enough resolution to blow it up that big. So it's, sometimes you have to play around with things. So if you do that, if you print it out, it'll print it out 8.5 by 11 sheets, just chunk, 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 so that you can see if the pictures in that are a good enough resolution before you actually commit it to poster paper. So, obviously it does kill a few trees, just recycle that paper, but it does save you from having a poster printed out and then not being happy with what it does. Now, one problem though is, and I'm assuming that this is even true of 2013, I haven't checked, but it won't let you print in tile format from PowerPoint. You actually have to go to your printer and then into printer properties to change that. And every printer is different, so I'm not going to go into explanation of how my printer would do it because it might be different than your printer. Okay? All right, now I was going to have you do this, but I think we're time-wise, I think Jack probably, you sure?
We get told 2 hours.
Okay, I keep thinking it's an hour and a half or some reason. Okay, all right, I'm cool. Okay.
So you're okay.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little activity to do that's going to take a little bit more, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to take unit activity implementation and engineering design process, and I want you to use one heading for that. Combine the two so that the center column is unit activity implementation with EDP, or engineering design process if you want to spell it out. Then I want you to insert well, actually, let's do that first. We'll take time and do that first, okay? So I want you to get rid of one of the boxes and combine the titles into, and if you want to work together in a pair to do this, you can do that.
You want us to make that one box?
One box will be both titles. I want to combine those concepts, because as I said, a lot of teachers I found out that when they combined the concepts, it made it easier for them. It made more sense to them. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do it up here, so if you're not clear on what I'm saying or you're not clear on how to do it, either one. Whoops, too far. I hate you sometimes, I really do. All right, so I'm going to take engineering design process. I'm just going to copy that. By the way, or cut it. Control X cuts, that's another shortcut. And then I'm going to click up here and I'm going to say and then Control V pastes. Now I'm going to have to obviously change my box here a little bit. All right, and engineering design process. And then I've got to make my box bigger. That's there. So that they fit in there. There we go. And then I want to get rid of this box.
We were going to do that, but didn't you say you wanted all the boxes to be the same size?
Well, within reason.
Okay.
It's you want the idea of unity and that type of thing. But if you look at it, it has the same amount of space around it basically that the other ones do. Top and bottom. I didn't have like I don't have it like off center or something like that. So.
Okay, it's gone now. Now when I go up here and hit Control V.
Okay. You need to have.
It needs to be bigger before I do that. So if I hit Control V now, that should appear up there.
Hopefully. Oh, okay. You copied the whole box. What I did was I went in and I copied the words. I hate this. I copied the words. So if you hold down the Shift key. Oh man, I hate this. I hate not having a mouse. Sorry, I'm too old school.
Oh no, I absolutely need a mouse.
Okay. All right, what I would do is, I would actually just delete that and then just go up and type in engineering design process. Yeah, yeah, and just type it in. And by the way, guys, if you, I mean, for some people, it's easier just to type in engineering design process instead of copying it. Especially to me, I can't, touchpads, unless you're used to your own touchpad, and my newest computer, it's driving me crazy, so I had to go back to a mouse. But my old one, I could do anything on a touchpad. So, all right, now, so we did number 1 here. So I'm going to take that one out. All right, now we want to now go to insert Smart Art for a segmented cycle to use for EDP. So I'm going to come up to Insert and Smart Art. And cycle. And I picked the segmented cycle. I don't remember where that one is. Oh, it's this one. And the reason why I picked, in all honesty, I don't like this one. But I picked it because I only wanted to show 3 steps. Okay. And I didn't want to have to change a lot of stuff. All right, so now that plops that right in the middle of everything, and it's huge, right? Let me get smaller here. All right, so I've got to resize it. And you do that by grabbing the handles on the corner of the big box there. And I want to fit, oh, no, don't do that. Move it over here. All right, and then I want to pick 3 steps of the design process that I'm going to show. And what I did was over on the side, I have a picture of people talking, raising their hands, yelling out kind of thing. What step of the design process do you think that might be? Brainstorming. Okay, so we want to change one of these to brainstorming, whichever one would be the appropriate one, do you think? And then what do you think this is going to be? The little airplane here. Okay, model or, you know what, I apologize, I just realized I have Project Lead the Way's design process ingrained in my head. So what's your step on the design process you all are using? I keep forgetting that we're not using that one. Well, you have like create or make or something like that, don't you?
Define.
Further down in the process. Is prototype one of your? Okay, so this would be the prototype. Okay. So that would be another step. And then what about this one where they're looking on the computer? What are they doing? Researching. Okay. All right, so you got prototype, brainstorm, and research are your steps. Decide which order you want to be in and what word you want where. And then what I want you to do is you're going to bring the picture over, and you may have to resize this even more. Oh, it's killing me. And make sure you grab the right thing here. Let me get rid of this box that has the directions in it. All right, so once I have those then I can bring over my picture for brainstorming, etc. Okay, to go with wherever you put the word.
One of the things that you just did there that I think is important, you can actually drag each of those segments. Sometimes you want to explode a segment.
Yes.
So you can resize those individually.
Right. The Smart Art stuff is very, very customizable. You can change the number of wedges you want. You can explode it if you want to. Resize, the wedge itself. Like if you're have one that has circles on it, you can resize the circles. You can make the circles bigger and put a picture on the circle. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Now, what I like about this, and I know I'm talking while you guys are doing things, and as a student that used to drive me crazy, but what I like about this is because if someone looks at that, do you have to show every step of the engineering design process on your poster? Of course you do. No. Okay. Let's face it, some things are not as photographable as other things are. Okay. And by the way, also, notice the picture of the people in the computer? Please, 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 do not take the back of people's heads. Okay? It means nothing. All right, so, and if you take it directly from the side, you see the side of their face and they're looking at a computer, but you don't know what they're looking at. So you have to kind of play around with it to try to get a little what's on the screen and their face a little bit. So think about those kinds of things as far as showing an activity. All right. So some steps are not as, bang out there that you're going to see. Now, if you wanted to put all the bubbles there, you could, and then just put pictures next to the ones you wanted to. You could do that. Or you could just show, whichever steps you think you want to illustrate. Because let's face it, the engineering design process is customizable too. In whatever particular activity you're doing, you may not have to do every single step. So that's important to realize. And you don't always do them in the exact same order. And you sometimes go back and cycle back and do different ones. Something very important to realize. Now, notice on student work and results, okay, I've got the little bar chart there showing the results of the pre-test and the post-test, even though it's not labeled correctly, but we're going to ignore that for right now. But notice that I have little sketches there too. Those are the sketches supposedly that the students made when designing their airplanes. So, getting student work on there I think is valuable. And like I said, I've noticed that that's not been very common that people will do that.
Pam, one of the things that I would like to point out here, to that graph, keep it simple. I've seen graphs that are fairly complex, and it's harder to understand those. If you're trying to show the results before and after, the way that graph is formatted, I think is just fine.
Right. I will also comment, though, don't have the graph take up a huge amount of space if it's a very simple graph to read. And that's the other thing I've seen, too, is people put this giant bar chart that has 2 bars on it. It's like, you can make that fairly small, and I can still tell what it's saying. It's pretty obvious. Okay. Still working, gave up, okay. Anytime you need any help, talk to me.
I still can't get this.
Unit title with your
Okay.
name
The reason why is
and where you are and
because,
all that stuff together in one bar, or could you have like your title at the top, just your information?
just press enter.
down?
Because it has to take up, I press enter. It just needs to take up 2 lines.
So where did you go?
I just clicked where I thought I should split it, because since they were both titles, they're about the same length. So I just clicked after the implementation because I know that was the end of the first title, and I just clicked and I pressed enter. But it's just a trial and error thing a lot of times.
So if I did that here and broke this and hit enter with that double space.
Yep. And then you just resize the box accordingly.
I think the reason why we do that's kind of like scientific posters. They normally put the authors of the poster at the top. That's
Yes.
just a general. It's a convention.
Red.
When you get to layers, it gets a little
Yeah,
weird.
a lot of people do the school logo, which is kind of
Yeah, because you got like this on top, and that's there. Oops,
Too much on top of it.
you see.
You could move the
There's
picture
probably a
first.
text box hiding somewhere on that top of that.
So if I move the picture out of the way,
Yeah,
okay.
and then
Yeah, move
you'll be
the
able to
picture
get
out of the
it.
way. That's probably easier than the pie chart.
Yes.
It's not even allowing me to select the pie chart though. So and by the way, guys, this came up with somebody. If you try to click on something and then you're not able to click on it, probably there's a mysterious text box on top of it that you can't see. So what you have to do is you have to kind of start clicking around until you see the handle show up, and then just delete it. That happens a lot of times because you're doing something and you accidentally click and it thinks you created a text box when you didn't mean to. It happens a lot.
It won't let me.
Well, the other thing you can do is this. Here, let's try this. Okay, let's try this. let's see.
So So before I should move stuff on, I should get rid of what I don't need first.
Well, what you can do here is let's do a line. Really? You're not letting me align on this? There we go. Okay. What I'm going to do is... hate your guts. Oh, man.
Can I say something real quick while you're helping individuals?
Sure.
Okay. I do want to make a quick comment,
okay.
if I could. Just, I'll have about 35
Now it's
posters that I need to print in about 24 hours.
Oh, there you go.
Sometimes our plotter printer is not always the most cooperative. Number one, you can help me out. If you get your poster done before the deadline, and it's been approved, somebody's looked at it, approved it, send it to me.
I've got like one more thing to say.
I can do that quickly.
Okay, thank
The
you.
other thing I want to say is part of the reason that I think it's important to take Pam's suggestion and to print it out or look at it at 100% or do something, double check it. Because if I make a mistake when I print your poster, like I run out of ink, of course I will reprint it. But I don't want to reprint it because you made a mistake. And it's very, very expensive to print those, and it's also very time consuming. It takes me about 20 minutes per poster to print. You need to get it right before you send it to me.
It should not be a trial and error.
No, it should be like, oh, go back and print it again. I can't. I won't have time or materials to do
It's
that.
quite costly.
It's very costly, very costly.
Okay, on this last one, I'm not going to go into this that much detail, but one of the things that I would encourage you to do, last thing, is consider colors. A lot of times if you have a really nice photo, if you can pick a color out of the photo, maybe the color of the shirt one of the kids is wearing or something, and make that either a border somewhere or some color, and you can play themes off of one another. And if you Google color themes, I mean, you can go on to here, and that's what I was going to show you. There are ways of it, and it's, if you want to jot this down somewhere, if you go to quick styles, design colors, and then quick styles are ways that you can pull colors in if you want to do that. But in all honesty, I don't even think that that's necessary, that you have to go to that much trouble, because it is one slide. If you just go on the internet and look at color palettes, they will give you all sorts of cool, warm, exciting, somber, whatever, and they'll say use these colors. And you can use those colors as kind of to help you make sure that things go together, because unless you're doing a lot of work with color, sometimes things will clash and it'll distract from your poster instead of enhancing it. So using some of the suggestions online might help you with that. Okay, and then last thing I have on here is there's some links for the internet. I really love the, I think it's the Producing an Academic Poster. I love that one. And mind you, he goes into some detail that is more specific to an academic poster, but some of the things he brings up I think are very, very pertinent to what you're going to be doing. So just kind of go through that and pull some of the wisdom that he has from that. But there's some really good stuff on those three. Okay, anybody, any questions? And I am around a lot, so if you're having problems with this kind of stuff, I taught computers for 25 years. I'm more than happy to help people. I actually like doing that. It's, that was one, I loved my job very much. Okay, all right. Actually, if you want to text me, anybody want my phone number? Okay.
Also, in the coaching assignments, she may not be your coach, but that coaching assignments page has the email addresses of all the coaches. So you look up Pam Truesdell, you've got her email address.
Okay. But my phone number is 513-259-0474. 0474? 4. And if you look on the calendar, the Google Calendar, we put on there when we're going to be here. And I live in Price Hill, so I come over a lot. I'm only 3 miles away from here. So I come over a lot just to kind of hang out in the room. So if I'm not working with one of my teachers, I'm more than happy to talk to you about stuff.
Is everybody back? All right, so in the interest of trying to stay on time, my purpose here is to just give you an overview of the video requirement. why we're doing it, and try to begin to help you with some tools that you can use to create that video. There is 4 of them this year. One would be the summer video for the showcase, and then 3 unit videos. However, the one for the showcase is one of the ones for the unit video, meaning that you make that video, you play it at the showcase, and then you modify it after you've taught the unit, and then that video is the same. It's just the same video, only it extends, and that's good. All right, so the purpose for making unit videos, going along with what Pam said, is because you gotta, right? So you might as well embrace that. Secondly, there is a purpose here for the target audience being other teachers. The poster was supposed to be for kind of student-centered. This is for other teachers because it's kind of a, what do they call it? We had a term for it. It was like a commercial or a trailer for the whole unit. You know, you're going to get a visual, audio-visual experience of the entire unit that someone could watch within 3 to 4 minutes and really get an idea of what went on, what it was all about. And that will help them make a decision, gee, I like that, I'd like to try it. So that's the purpose of, that's one of the main purposes. The other purpose, of course, it's a marketing tool. Marketing your idea, selling your idea to others because you thought it was really a good thing. The unit video requirements are actually on the binder. It's in the binder, and I have an additional one that I added on the wiki that is not in the printed binder. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of here and hope that I can get to the internet. I think you have that up here, right, Jack? I don't have this preloaded, sorry. But we're on here, and if I go to the binder, go down to, wait a minute, should say video components, that's, where is it? Posters. This is not, man, why is this so small? And then video components summer. And what I'd like to do, I'm not liking this at all, sorry. Just going to go ahead and download them. So all this stuff is on the wiki. What did I do? What did I do? I guess it's here, isn't it? All right, so this is the document that's in the printed binder, and nothing has changed with the summer version and the one that we're going to use for helpful suggestions later on. But essentially, the video components that need to be included in your video, you want to use the following list of components as a set of guidelines as you prepare it. The list of video components is used as a pilot. I don't know, that's not true. Get rid of that. That should be deleted out of there, actually. So forget that. Remember that the unit video serves as an advertisement of your unit to other teachers and the public. It's a way in which a viewer can see your students actively engaged in the challenge and view their finished products. Well, you're not going to have that this summer. So you're going to do a shortened version of this without that added value that's coming later. Okay, and if we go down to the list, there's the component list. And at the top there, the dates arranged with in advance by teachers for Debbie Haynes or coaches or others to help you film or photograph the activities. That's just an item that you should consider when you're getting ready to do things that are worth capturing. Unit title, big idea, essential question, the challenge clearly articulated, guiding questions for the challenge identified, lessons planned according or to respond to the guiding questions, and then pictures, videos of students engaged in work, the engineering design process, the ACS, the applications, career implications, and societal impact, Student testimony, it says, if appropriate, after the fact, it seems to me that it would be good for you to do this. Not many people last year or the year before did. A few of them did, and it really added a lot of value. Sometimes we have to be careful what you use, what students might say. But you want to look for gems, because some of them, if you just interview a few of the students, you might get some really good quality comments about what they experienced that maybe you didn't even know. So it's just a little extra thing that you might want to consider doing. It's not a requirement, but it's highly encouraged that you do something like that, to give some kind of feedback from what happened after the fact. And your testimonial as well. This is where you can comment on things that went well and what didn't go well and stuff like that. Yeah.
Comment on the student testimonial, because I saw this happen with some teachers. If you're asking someone to make a statement and you ask them the question, go ahead and videotape you asking the question, and then tell them, like, in their heads to count to 5, or they can say the question over again and then give their answer. Because what happens is, if you just tape them answering right away, you're not going to have any of that editing room to be able to cut that segment out. So it's good to have a little bit of a gap there. So if they count to 5 in their head and then answer you, you can cut your question and their answer and slice in between there. Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah. And then the video requirement we changed also from this document. It's now 2 to 4 minutes. Because after the fact you're going to have more content. Before we didn't have that requirement in there. And of course the identification of the logos. The NSF logo with the disclaimer of the statement there, the grant number, and then the UC logo, and I even added the CEEMS logo because we do have a CEEMS logo, and it seems since we have a graphic marker, we should use it. So that's that document, and I have then modified that slightly for summer and beyond, and that would be the summer checklist. And what I've done there, if you'll notice, is that I've grayed out some areas. And the grayed out areas are the things that you can't put in the summer video. So if you look at then what are the things that you need to have, they're in asterisks and they're white, okay? And that just kind of identifies that. So you can use either document, it doesn't matter. I created this to try to help you to look at for the things that you need to include. All right, in the summer video, and this will be a document that I will provide feedback for you on every video that's created for the summer. I'll go back through and I'll go through each one, and I'll send this back with comments to you to try to see what you can do to improve. And obviously it's not finished because you have to finish it after you've taught the unit. Okay, so I'm expecting not to have too many changes required, because I think you're going to be much better prepared this year. So without further ado, well, let me finish my little thing that I had started, because I just have a few more comments, and I want to get Jack up here. So get out of all of these. There we go. The video needs to have audio and video elements. These are just some comments I want to make sure you understand. It's not meant to be a book. It's not meant to be a slideshow necessarily, meaning that just, it's not needed. It shouldn't be read. You shouldn't have the audience just sit there and read it. You need to add voice. You need to add audio that's important to the content. So just make sure you understand you need both of those, not all text. Again, use any video creation tool that you want. Some of you have made videos. Just curiosity, how many of you have made a video before? Edited one. So there you go. So we got a few hands of people that have. If you've not done it before, we're going to try to make it much easier for you with what Jack's going to introduce here in a second. But if you have other things, if you have Macs and all, whatever tools you're familiar with, you're welcome to use. What we're going to say is PowerPoint and Movie Maker are both free. Well, PowerPoint's not free, but Movie Maker is if you have a Windows machine. And PowerPoint is on the laptop. So these tools are available to you right now to use. And you may use these video skills for other teaching opportunities. And some of the things that we've talked about in our little committee is the flipped classroom is becoming a very popular way of delivering content to your students. maximizing time spent when you have them in a classroom, and then instructional lessons can be done. You can help make your lessons more powerful by using these video skills that you've learned, or the PowerPoint skills that you're learning. And I think we're going to take the poster, which is a printed document for visual observation and viewing and understanding, and we're going to now add another power to the word PowerPoint, the software PowerPoint. It's a powerful tool, and Jack is going to talk to you now about how you can use PowerPoint to make a video. Which part do you want, Jack? Is it loaded or not loaded?
Just go right to the top one, the
Animation?
practice there. I think I'll skip the other.
Skip the other?
So,
I'll let you go ahead here. Let me give you this.
okay, so you know the justification for doing a video. What I'm going to do is show you a technique to develop a video actually in PowerPoint. Okay, but what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to teach you how to do it. You're going to learn that as homework. Okay, what I'm going to show you is how to use this tutorial that I put together. Okay, did everybody get an email from Julie yesterday with a document attached to it? Okay, if you didn't, send Julie a note and she can resend that to you. Okay, so it's got this file in it. All I'm going to do is explain to you how this file works. Okay. Okay, what you'll see on these slides, you're going to see these little symbols here. You're going to see procedure, practice activity, show me. You're going to see this right here. Also, what does this symbol mean right here? Can you see? I don't know if you can see that. Put it in slideshow mode. None of the links will work in PowerPoint unless it's in slideshow mode. Okay, so that's a key point. If you can't get those links to work, and there's a lot of links in here. The important link is this one right here. It's going to tell you. I've got 11 videos out there. Unfortunately, you have to listen to me, but this show me button, if I click on that on the slides, okay, it will play that video to show you how to go through that process. Okay? Now the procedure is, I thought, well, I really ought to give you an introduction to that. I'll show you that in just a little bit. I've included on slide number 2 here, these are the video requirements that Denny just went over. Okay? So you got those with that. On the next slide, I've got an index. Okay? This tells you how to do these various techniques. Like the first one, activity 1, animating text. Okay? Activity 2, adding a voiceover. Now, if you look over here on the far right-hand side, the finished product from those 2 activities, it's a slide with animated text and a voiceover. Okay? So you might look over here and decide what you want to do, and then do the appropriate activities. The biggest one is right here. Okay? It's going to animate objects. We're going to add music, play music across multiple slides, add a voiceover. There's a lot of stuff there. Okay? But you only need to pick and watch the ones that you need to accomplish. Okay? So that's the beauty of doing this. I'm going to just take you to one of these slides. We'll just take a simple one. So if I click on that link, okay, it gives a procedure as to what we're going to do. BP in this case stands for bullet point. Okay, so you can read that. I'm not going to spend much time with it. But I say, well, Jack, I really don't want to read this stuff. What I want you to show me how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to click on the Show Me button. in this activity, we're going to be animating some text.
Okay, and then I walk through the steps. Okay? Is that clear so far as to how this works? Okay. Here's, again, what the second activity, so the first activity was animating the bullet points. The second activity is to actually add a voiceover. So what I've done is I've provided you a slide that you can add the voiceover to. You don't have to do that work. But what I would encourage you to do is start working on your own video and do the voiceover, that sort of thing. Okay, I've given you a place to practice. You don't have to use those to practice. Okay? Let's see, other points to make here. Let's do this. I'm just going to show you the possibilities. Let's see one's here.
By the way, it does show you how to create a video at the end, so that's in here as well. And the type of video you want to create is an MP4. Okay, MP4s have the smallest size, so keep that in mind. When you create a video, MP4. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a little video here. What I don't want you to do is think that I've used some good techniques like Pam described for the poster.
Use of the engineering design process was key to the success of our students as they worked on the projectile bowling unit.
And this is truly the end. I'm not really going to tell you any more. What I'd like to do is ask if there are questions about getting that PowerPoint presentation. Everybody know how to do that? Okay.
For the red teachers, I just emailed it to Debbie so that she will.
Okay, very good, very good. We've got homework for next week, right, Denny? So you want to explain what the homework is?
Another Video 2 workshop for next Thursday morning, and we're going to add an element to this, I guess. And what Jack did, you saw that sample at the end, was several slides that all went one to the other to the other. So you can use PowerPoint to create your video, and a lot of teachers have done that. You don't need to go to another tool. You don't need iMovie, Movie Maker, any of those. But there are power in some of those other video tools, so that's what I'm going to show you next week. There's also a video part 3 where we're going to talk about a lot of other resources that you can use to get information. And there's tons of things out there, and I'm going to give you some tips and things to go with that. So in order for you to get started, I'd like to really maximize your time. And so what I'd like you to do is take one of your elements in your project, whatever you've got with Unit 1 right now. If you've got your big idea and essential questions, if you have some guiding questions, I don't know how you would have this generated yet, but I mean, if you have some that you've already written out in your mind, if you want to just take one slide and turn that into a video. So that's your assignment for next week. Take one slide, and just like the first one would be the easiest one to do if you're looking for the easy way out here, just animate a bullet list of text with voice. Okay? And all of your laptops do have a microphone. They're not going to be the best quality microphone, and if you use that, please get in a quiet space, someplace like that when you're going to do that. It is better if you have an external microphone, a USB adapted mic, or Jack brought his, good. And he bought this at Walmart.
$37.
Yeah, just a headphone with a, so it works as a headphone too. If you need a headphone to listen to music or watch videos on your laptop. So it would be highly encouraged that you have an external microphone for doing voiceover work. However, it's not required. You do have one in there, and it's okay for now. And I think we're going to try to make one available. I bought one too. I bought one at Staples for $49, and I was extremely pleased with the quality of that.
Our laptops do not have a mic. All
They
it has
they
is
do
an
have a
earbud.
Mic input?
Well, it has an internal mic.
Okay, so.
Okay. If you just do your voiceover, just talk to your computer.
Yeah, it'll work.
Yesterday, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it works okay. I tested it too.
If it's quiet,
Yeah.
Okay.
it works fine. The only advantage of something like this is
Just
I
get
can
real
control
close
the
to that.
volume on
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and I can mute it and so on. But other than that, if the
Okay.
quality fine, I would say.
It is. Yeah, I tested it. I thought it was fine. Now, this assignment with one slide being animated and then adding voice, which gives you the audio component, and then saving it as a video in MP4 like he's talking about. So those are the things you'll have to make sure you go through in this presentation. I know you have lots of other things to do. Okay? If you have more time and if you want to get into some of the other things, more importantly, you know that those tips and instructions are there when you're ready to do those for your video. You can always go back to self-learn and realize that also that you have Pam and Jack and myself that are resources for you. And you should use us. I've had people, tell me that, after the fact, well, I didn't know that I felt uncomfortable emailing you. Well, that's what we're here for. We're being paid to do this stuff for you. So use us while you have the chance. And I'm not here on campus as much, but if you email me, or like with cell phone, I have cell phone, all those contact informations are available. We can make a date, and we can meet here, we can meet off campus. I've done that last year. I met at a Starbucks and we did a little video editing for an hour. I'm more than happy to do that working one-on-one. That's really the best way to do it. And the really neat thing about it is, you might have some wonderful ideas, but you just don't quite know how to do it, how to get the tool to do it. That's where we can help. We can't think of all of your ideas for you. You have to be the author of this. You're the producer, but you're also the editor. You're everything, so it's not like Hollywood where you've got all these teams of talented people working for you. So now the idea of using students later on, heck yeah. They can help you make your video too. So you just have to make one and find a way to get that done. So everybody understand the assignment. The reason why I want you to make an MP4 video of a PowerPoint slide is because we're going to integrate that with Movie Maker next week. I'm going to show you how to integrate the two of those and how some of the tools in Movie Maker function to help you with both of those. Yeah, Jack.
If you go over activity 1, activity 2, and I think activity 11 shows you how to make the movie. So
that would be it.
Do those 3 things, and you should be okay.
Right. I think that's a pretty simple assignment, and that'll give you a little bit of an idea of how PowerPoint can really work in a different way than the poster, where you can bring it alive, and that's really helpful when you're making presentations.
Are you going to ask volunteers to share their videos?
Next week? We could.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Next week also, I'm going to show you some sample videos done by prior cohorts. We're going to do a little, viewing of some things, not because I'm going to show you the best ones. We're going to just kind of do a little self-critiquing of a group of like, okay, well, how did that go, So, again, it's a shorter workshop, an hour and a half. It's going to be a little bit of talking, and we're going to be you're going to be working, so you'll need your laptops, and we're actually going to be working. So, time's up.